An overlanding journey is made across land in a vehicle and is a self-reliant adventure travel through remote areas where the journey is more important than the destination, and it is accomplished with mechanized, off-road capable transport where the principal form of lodging is the camping.
This new expedition had one clear goal: to find the remains of a civilization more than 4,000 years old. Between Tichit and Oualata, in the vast silence of southern Mauritania, lie the traces of prehistoric stone cities. Circular compounds, stone enclosures, organized layouts built with intention. Long before borders, before maps, before caravans crossed the Sahara, people were already here. They built settlements on rocky plateaus. They crafted pottery with geometric patterns. They shaped arrowheads from stone. They raised cattle in a land that was once greener than today. This was the world of the ancient Tichit culture, one of West Africa's earliest complex societies. Today, only ruins remain. Walls swallowed by sand, silence broken by the desert wind. Driving across this landscape, it feels empty, but it wasn't always. And this journey is about uncovering what time tried to erase.
These videos have no commercial purpose. I do not promote or advertise any brand. I create them simply as a hobby to keep alive the memories of my journeys and to share a few stories and useful information with those who, like me, are passionate about this kind of adventure.
We left Porto under gray skies. And for days, the rain followed us. From northern Portugal, across Spain, and deep into Morocco, the weather became part of the expedition. Heavy rain, storm fronts rolling in from the Atlantic, flooded roads, mountain passes closed, detours after detours. In Morocco, several roads were cut by water and mud. Rivers overflowed, tracks turned into streams. Progress became slow and uncertain. Driving south past Agadir, the rain still chased us. Clouds hanging low over the anti-Atlas, wet asphalt where we expected dust. Only after entering Western Sahara did the skies finally begin to change. The storms faded, the horizon opened, the light returned, and little by little, the expedition began to feel like the Sahara again.
I have been traveling the world for more than 50 years, from Asia to the Middle East, from the deserts of the South to the high mountains of the Himalayas. But today, with mass tourism filling the cities, I choose another path. I escape to remote mountains and vast deserts where silence still reigns and nature speaks louder than the crowd. On the road, I live simply. I cook my own meals, but when I find a small family restaurant with traditional food, I never miss the chance to taste it. I sleep under the stars, in bivouacs or campsites, rather than in hotels. What I search for is always the same: adventure, natural beauty, good food and drink, and the joy of sharing it with true companions. And often, I prefer to travel alone or with no more than 2 or 3 vehicles, because in the end, overlanding is not about comfort or speed. It is about freedom, discovery, and living every journey as a story worth telling.
Tá vendo?
Somewhere in the vast openness of the Sahara, there's an invisible line. No walls, no fences, no borders, just coordinates. The Tropic of Cancer, the northernmost latitude where the sun can stand directly overhead. Crossing it isn't just geography, it's symbolic. It marks the transition into the tropics, into a different climate zone, into a different rhythm of light, heat, and landscape. For overlanders, it's always a milestone. You stop the engine, you step out into the silence, you take the photo. Not just for memory, but for the story. Because from this point south, you know you're deep in it. Deep into Africa, deep into the desert. An invisible line on the map, but a powerful one on the journey. On a journey like this, food is not a detail, it's essential. No matter how remote the route, how long the driving days, or how rough the terrain, eating well matters. It keeps the energy high, the spirit strong, and the conversations alive. Whenever possible, we try to sit down properly. Good food, good wine, and above all, good friends around the table. Throughout this expedition, we had some incredible meals. But this one, we won't forget. Probably one of the best fish meals of my life. 2 kilogram sea bream, fresh sea bass, grilled to perfection, simple, fresh, honest. Moments like this remind you that overlanding isn't only about the kilometers or the landscapes. It's also about sharing unforgettable meals in unexpected places. And this one was truly memorable. Today, the Sahara feels endless, dry, silent, timeless. But millions of years ago, this was not a desert. It was a shallow sea. Warm waters once covered this land. Coral reefs thrived here. Marine life moved where today only wind and sand exist. As we travel across Mauritania and Western Sahara, the evidence is everywhere, if you look closely. Fragments of coral embedded in rock, marine fossils scattered across the ground, ancient seabeds now lifted into stone plateaus. You can literally pick up pieces of an ocean that disappeared millions of years ago. Standing in the middle of the desert, holding a fossilized shell in your hand, it changes your perspective. This isn't just a road trip across sand, it's a journey across geological time. The Sahara is not only a desert, it's the memory of an ancient sea.
Oh no.
Crossing from Morocco into Mauritania was not just a line on the map, it was an experience. 4 hours on the Moroccan side, 3 more on the Mauritanian side, 7 hours in total. Waiting, paperwork, queues that didn't move, offices without clear direction. At times, it felt like total disorganization. No clear system, no clear order, just patience and more patience. But this is part of overland travel. Borders are not just checkpoints, they are tests. And once you finally roll past the last barrier, engine running, passport stamped, you know you've entered a different world. And the adventure truly begins. After the long border crossing, it was finally time to leave the asphalt. Our first real track in Mauritania, 450 kilometers running alongside the iron ore railway. Endless desert, dust, heat, and the sound of the trains somewhere in the distance. This was the Mauritania we came for. Along the way, a small stop. A Mauritanian driver struggling with low tire pressure. Out came the compressor. A simple gesture, a few minutes of shared smiles. No common language, but complete understanding. Then, back to the track. 450 kilometers of raw, open Sahara ahead of us. Our first bivouac in Mauritania felt perfect at sunset. Endless horizon, silence so deep you could hear your own breath. The kind of place you travel thousands of kilometers to experience. But the desert never stays gentle for long. For 3 days, a sandstorm surrounded us, wind constantly blowing, fine dust penetrating everything, the car, the gear, the tent. The sky turning pale, the landscape fading into a beige blur. And then came the real reminder of where we were. During the day, temperatures reached 29 degrees Celsius. At night, they dropped to 1 degrees Celsius. Almost a 30-degree thermal amplitude in just a few hours. Warm sun in the afternoon, freezing air after midnight. The Sahara tests you in different ways, not just with distance, not just with terrain, but with extremes. And that first bivouac made one thing clear. Out here, nature is always in control. Running across the Mauritanian desert is what is believed to be one of the longest trains in the world. The Mauritania Railway stretches for around 700 kilometers, linking the mines of Sahara to the port city of Nouadhibou. The train itself can reach 2.5 to nearly 3 kilometers in length, more than 200 wagons, each one loaded with iron ore, pulled by multiple locomotives across pure desert. It is not just a train, it is the backbone of the country. Entire communities depend on it, for transport, for goods, for movement between isolated towns. Some even ride on top of the wagons, crossing the Sahara exposed to dust, wind, and extreme temperatures. When it passes, you feel it before you see it. A distant vibration, a deep metallic rumble. Then the Iron Giant appears on the horizon. In a land of silence, this train is life in motion. Somewhere deep in the desert, we had no choice. We needed fuel. No station, no pumps, just a small tank sitting in the middle of nowhere. Diesel stored in basic conditions, no filters, no guarantees. You look at it and you don't trust it. But out here, you don't always get to choose. So we filled up. Because in the Sahara, range is everything. And thankfully, I was driving my Land Cruiser, an HDJ 100, a machine built for places like this. It doesn't complain, it doesn't hesitate, it drinks whatever you give it, and keeps going. In the middle of nowhere, that's not just reliability, that's survival.
Oui, oui.
Benamira is considered one of the largest monoliths in the world. A single massive block of granite rising more than 600 meters above the desert floor. From a distance, it looks unreal. As you get closer, you begin to understand the scale. Standing at its base, you feel small, incredibly small. Just a few kilometers away stands Ben Aïcha, slightly smaller, but equally powerful against the empty landscape. These rocks are hundreds of millions of years old. They existed long before the Sahara became a desert, long before prehistoric settlements, long before any human footsteps crossed this land. And beside them runs the iron ore railway, the longest train in the desert passing at their feet. Ancient stone, moving steel, silence and thunder sharing the same horizon. When the sun sets, the granite turns golden, then deep red, and for a moment, time feels suspended. This is not just geology, this is scale, solitude, and the raw power of the Sahara. Near Benamira, just a short drive away, stands its smaller neighbor, Ben Aïcha. But here, something unexpected appears: modern art. In 1999, a group of international artists, led by sculptor Siriki Key, came to this remote place to mark the new millennium. For over a month, they worked directly on the rock, carving, etching, shaping stone, creating sculptures focused on one idea: peace. Around the base of Ben Aïcha, the desert became an open-air gallery, ancient landscape, modern expression. And yet, this place holds even deeper history. Long before these artworks, the region was already marked by ancient petroglyphs, traces of civilizations that lived here thousands of years ago. Two timelines, separated by millennia, connected by stone. In the middle of the Sahara, art is not confined to museums. It is carved into the earth itself. Along the tracks, in places where you wouldn't expect anyone to live, we began to see them. Nomadic camps. Simple, temporary, perfectly adapted to the desert. Tents made from fabric and mats, low to the ground to resist the wind. A few belongings, a fire, animals resting nearby. Camels, goats, donkeys, everything they need and nothing more. These families move with the seasons, following water, following pasture, following life across the Sahara. No fixed address, no permanent walls, just knowledge passed from generation to generation. Where to go, when to move, how to survive. We stop for a moment, a greeting, a few words, a shared look of curiosity. Then we continue. And within minutes, the camp disappears behind us, but it stays in memory. Because in the vast emptiness of the desert, there is life. After a long day fighting the sandstorm, wind, dust, and zero visibility, we reached Atar. First stop, fuel. Tanks full again, cars covered in sand, bodies tired. Then, a simple hotel. Nothing special, just walls and a place to stop. But that night, we made it special. Out came the stove, out came the ingredients. Cod cheeks, chickpeas, olive oil, garlic, a taste of home in the middle of Mauritania. After days of dust and hardship, this was more than a meal. It was comfort. Warm food, good company, a quiet moment after the storm. Because in an expedition like this, sometimes the best memories are made around a simple plate. After days of desert silence, dust, and endless horizons, we arrived in Atar. And suddenly, everything changed. Atar is not just a town in the Adrar region. It is movement, it is commerce, it is daily life in full rhythm. Markets alive with voices, stalls filled with vegetables, dates, fabrics, tools, motorbikes weaving through narrow streets, donkeys pulling carts beside old pickup trucks. After the emptiness of the Sahara, the energy feels intense. This is where the desert breathes through its people. Traders negotiating under the sun, families shopping, tea being poured slowly in small glasses. The ritual never rushed. Atar is a crossroads, for caravans in the past, for overlanders today, for the communities that depend on its markets and connections. Here, you don't just pass through, you stop, you observe, you feel the pulse of Mauritania. Because the Sahara is not only dunes and silence, it is also places like this, full of life, resilience, and movement. the middle of the Adrar region lies Atar, a town where the desert connects with daily life. After days of isolation, Atar feels alive. Here, you can find almost everything. Fresh bread coming out of small ovens, dates, sweet, local, essential. Vegetables brought in from surrounding areas. Spices filling the air with strong, familiar aromas. Markets spread through the streets. Small shops packed with goods. People moving, trading, negotiating. It's not organized, it's not polished, but it works. Atar is a supply point, a meeting point, a lifeline for those crossing the Sahara. Out there, in the desert, you have nothing. But here, you find everything you need to keep going. Leaving Atar towards Wadan, we expected desert beauty. What we got was punishment. This road is famous, not for its views, but for its corrugation. Endless washboard, deep, aggressive, relentless vibration. The kind that shakes bolts loose, the kind that tests suspensions, the kind that destroys vehicles. At low speed, it's unbearable. The only way to survive it is speed. 90, sometimes 100 kilometers per hour. Floating over the ridges, trusting the suspension, trusting the tires, trusting the car. But even then, the vibration never truly stops. It gets into everything. The dashboard rattles, the mirrors shake, your hands go numb from the steering wheel. It's not technical driving, it's endurance, a true mechanical test. And on this road, you understand something very quickly. In Mauritania, it's not the sand that breaks cars, it's the corrugation. In the middle of the Mauritanian desert, near Ouadane, lies one of the most extraordinary geological formations on Earth, the Richat structure, also known as the Eye of Africa. From the ground, it's hard to understand what you're standing on. Rocky plateaus, circular ridges, layers of stone stretching to the horizon. But from the sky, everything changes. A massive circular formation nearly 40 kilometers in diameter. Concentric rings carved into the desert, so large that astronauts can see it from space. For years, it was thought to be an impact crater, a scar left by a meteor. Today, scientists believe it is the result of millions of years of geological uplift and erosion, ancient rock layers slowly exposed by time and wind. Standing inside it, you don't feel like you're at a landmark. You feel like you're inside a planet. Layer upon layer of history beneath your feet. Wind shaping stone. Time carving patterns no human could design. The Eye of Africa is not just a destination. It is a reminder of scale, of time, of forces beyond imagination. And in that moment, surrounded by endless rings of stone, you realize the Sahara is far older than any road we drive across it.
Bon, Wadan, le nom de Wadan, ça veut dire des Awad, en Ouad savoir, en Ouad daté, Palmeri. Et Wadan, c'est une ville fortifiée. Wadan, comptoir, marché, Sahara, caravanier entre nous et Mali et Maroc. Et fondé avec trois messieurs, s'appelle Haj Yacoub, El Haj Edman, El Haj Ali, les trois fondateurs de Wadan. Bon, et créé à 536 Hijr, 1141, 12e siècle. Maintenant, on va visiter le riz du 40 savants, la première mosquée, les trois maisons fondateurs de Wadan, les deux maisons de surveillance au puits fortifié et puits fortifié à la deuxième mosquée en haut. C'est ça, on va visiter maintenant. Encore, on a une bibliothèque. Si vous visitez la bibliothèque de Wadan, c'est autre chose. On va visiter à demain, si tu veux, parce que maintenant, c'est fermé. Okay. Mais demain, à bonne heure, si visiter, on va visiter la manuscrit de Wadan. Okay. Bon, c'est ça, l'histoire de Wadan.
Hidden in the Adrar Plateau stands Wadan, an ancient stone city rising from the desert. Together with Chinguetti, Tichit, and Oualata, Wadan formed part of the great trans-Saharan caravan network. For centuries, this was not an isolated desert town. It was a center of exchange, a crossroads of worlds. Caravans arrived with hundreds, sometimes thousands of camels. They carried salt from the north, gold from West Africa, manuscripts, textiles, spices, and, tragically, slaves traded across the desert routes. This was commerce at the scale of empires. Ideas moved here, religion moved here, knowledge moved here. And among the first Europeans to reach this region were the Portuguese, navigating the Atlantic coast of West Africa in the 15th century, opening maritime trade routes that would eventually connect with these inland caravan systems. Today, Wadan is quiet. Stone houses partially collapsed, walls blending into the color of the desert. Silence where once there was negotiation, bargaining, movement. But if you walk its narrow streets slowly, you can still feel it. The echo of camels, the weight of history, the pulse of a city that once stood at the heart of the Sahara. This is not just a ruin. It is a memory of when the desert was a highway of civilizations. Tonight, we stopped in Wadan, at the Auberge El Galawiya. Simple place, quiet, surrounded by stone and sand. And as always, we made use of the kitchen. Because on a journey like this, cooking becomes part of the ritual. Tonight's menu, something special. Marinated horse mackerel, octopus with boiled potatoes, tomato sauce, onion, garlic, and good olive oil. Flavors from home, prepared in the middle of the Sahara. Outside, silence. Inside, the smell of food, the sound of conversation, the comfort of a shared meal. Another day in the desert, ending exactly the right way.
Oui, merci.
Et voilà! Today, we left Wadan heading toward Chinguetti, not by road, by sand track. The kind of route that disappears and reappears, shaped only by wind and time. Dunes rising ahead, soft sand under the wheels, navigation by instinct and experience. Along the way, small villages appeared, scattered, simple, alive. Whenever we could, we stopped, walked through narrow paths, observed daily life, exchanged a few words, a few smiles, places far from everything, but full of presence. Because in the Sahara, even the smallest village has a story to tell.
l'année 43. Vous avez des enfants? Oui, deux. Des filles ou garçons? Un fille et une garçon. Garçon avec près 40 ans, la fille 35. D'accord. Ils sont professeurs à la université. Ah, c'est là que ça se passe. C'est parfait. Oh, donc tu vois les palmiers, ouais, les palmiers, ils sont verts, très beaux et très petits.
Along the track from Wadan to Chinguetti, we stopped in a small village, a simple place in the middle of the desert. It was here that our local guide had married, a place filled with personal history for him. We visited a modest museum where prehistoric tools collected from nearby tracks and rocky slopes were displayed. Stone arrowheads, fragments of pottery, objects thousands of years old found scattered across the land. Then, we visited the local health center, originally funded by a Belgian donor, a vital place for the community. But there was a problem. The solar panel batteries used to keep medicines at safe temperatures were no longer working. Without power, refrigeration was impossible. Later, when we reached Nouakchott, one of the members of our expedition, who happens to be a doctor, bought new batteries and donated them to the village. A simple act, quiet, unannounced, but deeply meaningful. In the middle of the Sahara, sometimes the most powerful moments of a journey are not about landscapes. They are about people.
Traces in the dust will fade away as the night replaces the light of day. Walking through the blue of a moonlit dream, nothing is ever quite what it may seem. Fade into the golden sand.
Along these remote regions, there is a system that keeps everything moving. A weekly, sometimes monthly routine. Transport. Not by companies, not by logistics networks, by people. Toyota Hilux pickups loaded with everything you can imagine. Food, supplies, tools, even animals. These vehicles travel between villages, carrying orders placed in advance by locals who have no other means of transport. It's simple, direct, efficient. You ask for what you need and wait. Days later, it arrives. Across sand tracks, across vast distances, across the Sahara. No schedules, no guarantees, just trust. Because out here, the Hilux is more than a vehicle. It's a lifeline. 3 days of sandstorm, relentless wind, fine dust penetrating everything. And then, the first mechanical consequence. On my Land Cruiser, a bearing seized, the pulley locked. The belt that drives the heating and air conditioning system snapped. In the middle of the Sahara, no dealership, no workshop, no spare part on the shelf. Immediately, Chakali, our guide, went into action. Phone calls, contacts, asking everywhere. New part, used part, anything that would work. 14 hours later, a replacement arrived from Nouakchott. Not to a shop, not to a garage. It was delivered to a military post in the desert. The next morning, we drove there to collect it. Problem solved. And once again, Africa teaches you something. Out here, things may look disorganized, but somehow, everything works. And many times, faster than in Europe. A short stop along the way. Nothing planned, nothing special, just a simple lunch, mixed sandwiches, a few cold beers, and the shade of a rare tree in the middle of the desert. Engines off, boots in the sand, silence all around. Moments like this, unplanned, simple, real. In the middle of the Sahara, even the smallest pause becomes something unique. In the heart of the desert stands Chinguetti, a city founded in the 13th century, more than 700 years ago. Long before the modern state of Mauritania existed, this land was often referred to by outsiders simply as Bilad Chinguetti, the land of Chinguetti. That is how important it was. Chinguetti was not just a caravan stop, it was a center of knowledge, a desert university. Scholars gathered here. Manuscripts were copied by hand. Theology, astronomy, mathematics, and law were studied within stone libraries that still survive today. It became one of the great intellectual centers of West Africa. At the same time, it stood at the crossroads of 4 major trans-Saharan trade routes. Caravans from the north, from the west, from the Sahel, from the Maghreb. Salt, gold, books, and ideas passed through these streets. Today, the sand slowly presses against its ancient walls. The old mosque still rises above the dunes. The narrow alleys remain silent. But Chinguetti is not just a relic of the past. It is a reminder that even in the middle of the Sahara, knowledge once flourished.
C'est disputé entre autres Marrakech, Fès, Kairouan, Bagdad, Damas. Le 7e rang, pas de polémique, c'est Chinguetti. Chinguetti, ville symbole. Pourquoi? Parce que jusqu'à le 25 septembre 1899, le pays s'appelle Pige. D'ailleurs, le vrai nom de notre pays, c'est pas Mauritanie. Mauritanie, c'est un nouveau nom étrange du colon français. Notre pays s'appelle le pays des Chinguetti, et depuis toujours. Jusqu'à pays de Chinguetti. Beaucoup de musulmans, jusqu'à présent, ne connaissent pas ce nouveau nom Mauritanie. Ils nous appellent ailleurs, jusqu'à présent, Chinguettiens, Chenagita, les pays de Chinguetti. Les musulmans arabes que nous sommes, on le connaît depuis longtemps que la terre est ronde, même avant Copernic, avant Galilée. Le dernier manuscrit sera un livre de poésie arabe. On vous propose de voir un peu de poésie. Avec une très jolie calligraphie arabe, je vous propose de comprendre tout d'abord pourquoi assez de couleurs. Parce que tout simplement, assez de poètes. Chaque poète correspond à une couleur. Chaque personne. Donc, en vieux chat Messenger WhatsApp de l'époque. Je vous propose d'écouter un petit passage en poésie arabe, très ancien, ça s'appelait Islam d'ailleurs. Mais juste après, je vous demande de me proposer un poème de chez vous. Peut-être une chanson, que ce soit en échange qui s'appelle chez moi. On s'amuse un peu à la fin. Moi, je vous propose d'écouter, après j'écoute pour vous. Voilà, kartuki. والرماح نواهل مني وبيض الهند تقطر من دمي. Bon, vous n'avez pas tout compris, c'est dommage. Je voulais que j'explique en français ou en italien. Qu'est-ce que vous préférez?
En français.
En français. Et vous comprenez l'italien quand même?
Oui, un peu.
Non, en français. Même en pleine guerre, chérie. Même en pleine nuit, obscurité, très proche à la mort, tout proche au destin, il dit qu'il n'a jamais, au grand jamais, oublié le sourire de sa belle mère. Mes amis, je vous propose de me proposer. وطن قاعد هذا السكه كامل ما نزيد انا عندي ذبي هاك شنو
لا يصور فيديو فيت فيديو
كياش ما بلا وصفك ما بلا وصفك زين الجولة وحال هذا المكان كله بيتي.
The sand remembers every step I take. Every step I take. A silent promise that I'll never break. Never break. Under a sun that never seems to rest. I find the peace I lost within my chest. Within my chest. Oh, the wind is a guide, I know, where the golden rivers flow. In the hollow of the hill, everything is calm and still. Everything is calm secrets drifting by. No walls to hold the spirit or the light. We are but shadows moving through the night.
No, no.
Dust remains. Journeys end. Breath in the golden air, golden air, floating on the wind, on the whispers in the hall, whispers in the hall. Lost in the gold, lost in the gold. Breath out finally.
At the Auberge Caravan du Désert, a very modest place, basic conditions, nothing more than what was necessary, but it gave us something important, shelter from the wind. Outside, the desert continued to blow. Inside, we had a moment of calm, and as always, we cooked. Rice and samous, beans, codfish moth, a traditional delicacy. Simple, rich, full of flavor. A small luxury in the middle of the Sahara. Because out here, it's not about where you stay, it's about how you live the moment. And that night, we lived it well.
Tá bom, tá bom. Mais um bocadinho. Tá bom. Ok.
Ça, c'est un plat traditionnel.
Non, c'est un riz normal.
Dans les normales.
Ça dans ça. Ça, monsieur.
Finish.
Okay.
This combien de sucre?
Ça
Deux,
dépend.
trois, quatre,
Ça dépend.
Sûr?
Ça dépend.
Si ما
Ça dépend si pour des.
الظاهر يحرق عاد تقريبا من 34 بيت تمت اياها مضبوطه. شنشن ومطعم وعاد فوق.
فوق ولا الاتوال؟
عاد فوق وحيلك في القاهره كانوا هذا
That night, we stayed at Auberge Caravan du Désert. Very basic conditions, simple rooms, minimal comfort, but in the desert, you take what you have. And sometimes, that's enough. The wind still carried dust through the air. The silence of Chinguetti surrounded us. It wasn't luxury, it was shelter, and that was all we needed. The next morning, everything changed. We reached the oasis of Tichit Oasis, a true surprise, a hidden beauty in the middle of stone and sand, water flowing gently through the rocks, a small stream forming between palm trees, green life where you least expect it. And there, growing from the shaded rock walls, delicate maidenhair ferns, fragile, vibrant, alive, in the middle of one of the harshest landscapes on Earth. Moments like this remind you, the Sahara is not only dust and silence, it is also water, life, and unexpected beauty. "14 hours after the call, we were back on the move. In the middle of nowhere, at a military control post, a simple crossing of 4 desert tracks, our replacement bearing was waiting. No workshop, no reception desk, no paperwork counter, just a small checkpoint in the Sahara. The part had traveled overnight from Nouakchott, passed from hand to hand until it reached this remote outpost. We arrived early. The soldiers nodded. A package was brought out, and there it was, exactly what we needed. In Europe, this might have taken days. Here, in the middle of the desert, it took 14 hours. Problem solved, engine ready, and once again, the Sahara proved something important. Out here, logistics may look chaotic, but somehow, they work.
C'est arrivé les pièces, je viens de marcher à 450 km d'étage. C'est arrivé hier, on nous recommande par Starlink, on est plein de désert.
Parfait.
Voilà.
C'est parfait.
There's no fault lines to crack and
Along the track, we made a small stop. In the middle of nowhere, a school, a nomadic school. No buildings, no walls, just a simple structure, a few materials, and a teacher. Children sitting on the ground, learning, focused, in one of the most remote places on Earth. Here, education moves with the people. It adapts to the desert, to the seasons, to the nomadic way of life. No comfort, no technology, but presence, attention, and the will to learn. In the middle of the Sahara, even here, knowledge finds a way. Arriving in Tichit meant one thing: preparation. This was the last real resupply point before the big crossing. Ahead of us, nearly 700 kilometers of sand tracks to Nema. No fuel stations, no villages, no help. Every vehicle needed at least 250 liters of diesel, water for several days, food supplies for 4 to 5 days of isolation. Once we left Tichit, we were on our own. Before departure, we replaced the seized bearing and installed the new belt. I kept the spare parts with me, just in case. Out here, prevention is survival. You don't gamble with mechanics in the Sahara, you prepare. Fuel tanks full, water secured, gear checked, engines running. From this point forward, it wasn't about comfort, it was about endurance. The real desert was waiting.
Tem aqui uma sala, tem conexão, portanto, de vez em quando posso mandar coisinhas, está a carregar?